Hello! So today I'm going to be talking about Restless Dolly Maunder by Kate Grenville. My fourth read from the Women's Prize for Fiction Shortlist. In this novel we follow Dolly from birth to death. The entire novel is Kate Grenville's fictional retelling of her grandmother's life based on family memories. Dolly was born at the end of the 19th century, raised in a poor farming family in New South Wales, Australia. Despite her humble beginnings, Dolly is very smart and determined, and she has this energy and drive. And most importantly, as the novel is named, she has this restlessness and a need for more. From a very early age, she starts challenging the societal norms and barriers that are put in her way because she's a woman. From persevering with a marriage she didn't particularly want, to starting businesses that go from strength to strength, Grenville is imagining the challenges and the triumphs of her grandmother's life. In essence, this novel is the story of a woman navigating her life through constraints and obstacles. Dolly manages to carve out a life for herself, but at what personal cost? So there you go, that's the blurb, that's what this book is about. So let's dive straight into what did I like and what didn't I like. What I liked. I like the setting of this one. I thought New South Wales, Australia, where the family travels to, I thought all these places were brought to life quite well. The writing is good and it flows really nicely. It's a very short novel and I whipped through this one pretty quickly. And finally, I really enjoyed Dolly as a character. Her spirit and her personality really resonate off the page. She is so determined and at times her observations are very funny. But that's it for what I liked, so let's move on to what I didn't like. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I don't think this book deserves to be on this shortlist. Now, I didn't read the long list, but I really can't see this book being better than any of the other choices on the long list. It's just very, very simple. Compared to the other three novels I have read on this shortlist, that's River East, River West, Brotherless Night and Enter Ghost, those books are really saying something, both politically and culturally. They are saying things, they are interesting in their core themes. And this book, well, it's just telling a story we have all read, especially if you're an avid reader, 1,000 times before. Now, don't get me wrong, the essence of Dolly's story is interesting, and to some people who haven't read thousands of stories just like it, they will consider it to be very important. But, you know, compared to the other three books on the shortlist, this book just isn't saying enough. It's just nowhere near what the other three books are doing. It just doesn't belong on this list. It's fine as a novel, but that's it. It's just fine. And I did enjoy reading it. It was a really quick read and Dolly was brought to life really, really well. But there's just not a lot of struggle in this novel. Whilst reading this novel, I kept thinking this, and it is a little bit harsh, but I'm just going to say it because it's what I honestly felt. Only the main protagonist's granddaughter could have considered her story novel-worthy. I just don't think in 2024 what happens to Dolly and her experiences is really noteworthy. There's not a lot of struggle going on. Quite a lot of things that happen to Dolly throughout this novel come pretty easily. Do you know what I mean? There's no like proper financial struggle. She seems to be able to just sell things and then buy another business and then sell another thing and buy another business. She eventually, manages to get her name put down on properties and deeds. I don't know. I think maybe I am just being a little bit harsh, but I just feel like there's a simplicity to this story that I'm a bit like, why should I care? I could understand why the novelist, whose grandmother it was, would be really invested because they'll be like, this is your grandmother. Okay, so I'm going to pause there because when editing this, I realised I went on a massive rant. That just wasn't really helpful. What I was trying to say is that I'm sure this story was very, very interesting to Kate Grenville, and the process of writing it was probably a really interesting one, and sharing those memories with her family and bringing it to life, I think is really interesting. However, for me, it just hasn't translated to something that interesting as a reader, and I think it's probably more cathartic and a process for her as it is for us. I started talking about my grandmother. My grandmother built bombs during World War II. And, to me, that, oh my God, that's a novel-worthy story of her life. But actually, probably, no, it's just an interesting story that you could share with your friends and family about a family member. I just don't know if it was, I went on a massive rant about it, and I'm just going to stop it there. But yeah, I know, I've gone on a little bit of a tangent. I'm sorry about that. It's just, this book is fine. It's all right. I enjoyed my time reading it. I don't regret reading it. And I whipped through it really, really quickly because the writing was solid and flowed really, really well. But my personal requirements for being shortlisted for a book prize of any kind is that it has to be saying something a little bit more than what's already been said before. It has to stand out politically, culturally, philosophically. It has to be exploring new ideas. That's why it's being picked out to be considered noteworthy as a novel. Now, your criteria for what should be considered prizeworthy could be very different from mine. You could just be like, I just need a prizeworthy book to be very enjoyable and a fun read. And if so, then maybe that's why The Restless Dolly Maunder is just on this list. But for me, personally, I don't want prize-winning novels to be that simple. I think I need them to be saying something a little bit more. And that's why I'm a bit like, why is this book on this list? So, have you read The Restless Dolly Maunder? And if so, what did you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please let me know in the comments below. And also, if you've got the time, what do you consider to be the criteria for something to be shortlisted for a book prize? What should a book be doing or saying that makes it prize-worthy? I find this really, really interesting because I have a very sort of strict criteria when it comes to like the Booker Prize or prizes in general. And maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm putting too high a standard on what should be awarded a prize for fiction. And yeah, so also let me know that in the comments below. As always, I hope you're well. I hope you're enjoying whatever you might be reading. And I'll see you all on the next one.